Hi, welcome back. This is Beersborn. Let's go back into Construct and let's open up our game project. I want to add one more action. Right now we have two different types of attacks, basically. We have a projectile where a character can shoot something, and we have like a physical attack, like a sword attack or a punch. What I want to add today is one more action that's more based on movement. Imagine like a dash or a dodge where a character can move very quickly for a short amount of time. We could use this to like get out of the way of an enemy attack or maybe to move quickly across the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple new things for this. First, let's go into our event sheet. Right now we have three groups, right? One for character movement, one for character arrow, one for character attack. Yours might be different names, but the same basic idea. Let's add a new event. We're going to go to our keyboard. We're going to go to key is down. We're going to decide which key we want to press to have our character dash or dodge. I'm going to use the shift key on mine. You can use a different key. We can always change this later. Click OK. And click done. So now when the shift key is down, I'm going to add an action. I'm going to go to my main character. I'm going to set the animation to whatever our dodge or our dash animation is. Now I haven't added mine in yet. So I'm going to go back and hit cancel. I'm going to go to my layout. I'm going to go to my main character, and I'm going to add the new animation in. Now, just like with our other actions, we want to have some kind of animation that we've done in Piskel that represents that action. I have just a quick 3-frame dash. What I'm going to do is export this and click on the export on the side window. And I want to make sure that the resolution, the scale, is the same as what I've been using for my other animations. Mine is set to 512 4 times. Yours might be something similar. And click on download. And call this Goblin Dash. That's good. Once I have it exported from Piskel, I'm going to go back into Construct. I'm going to double click on my main character. And on the right side of the corner, we have the animations window. I'm going to right click in the white space and click on Add Animation. And what I recommend doing is naming this something that you'll recognize. If I right click again, I can hit rename. I'm going to call this Dash. Now, if I go over to the top left, I can click on the Load Images from Files folder. Then you want to navigate through your folders and find where you saved your files. I recommend saving stuff into documents. I'm going to find my file. Here it is, Goblin Dash. Double click it, and there it is. Just a quick 3-frame animation of my character dashing. And one thing that I recommend doing is checking your speed. Right now, my speed is set to 5. I'm going to preview it, see how that looks. It's kind of slow. For something like a dash, I figure like it should be pretty quick. Right? So I'm going to turn up my speed. Yours might be different. This is totally dependent on how you want it to look. But I'm going to turn mine up. I'm going to go like maybe 15 on this. Click on preview. That seems a little bit more fluid. It's good. So I turn my speed up. Great. Let's close that. Now let's go back into our event sheet. Now when the shift is down, I can add an action for my main character, and I can set the animation to dash. Remember, if you start by typing in a quotation mark, the whole list of your animations pops up. Click done. Great. Now if I take a look, I can run my character, hit the shift, and he just kind of freezes like that, right? He doesn't really dash at all, and he gets kind of stuck in that pose. So what I want to do is add another event. I'm going to go to my main character. I'm going to click on Finished. What I want to select is my dash animation. When my dash is done, I'm going to go to Add Action. For my main character, I'm going to set the animation back to the standing or idle animation. Good. So now when I hit Shift, he does this little dash animation, and he goes back to standing. Good. Now he doesn't dash yet, right? The animation plays, but he doesn't move quickly across the screen. To do that, we're going to have to add a couple other elements, and we're going to use some things that we haven't used before. We're going to use what we call instance variables. We'll talk about what those are. We're also going to use something called a movement behavior, which is a different way of controlling movement in Construct. It's another way that we could have done this earlier character movement stuff, There's always more than one way to do something, so we're going to introduce another way to control our character's movement. But the first thing I want to do is something that we've done before. If you remember back in the character projectile or the attack, we had it set up so that when the animation's playing, we deactivated the character movement group. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. While the animation is playing, once I press in my case, the Shift key, I'm going to add another action. I'm going to go to System, and I'm going to click on Set Group Active. Now up here, if I start typing in a quotation mark, I can see the list of my different groups. I'm going to do character movement. That's the group that controls all of our character's movement, right? I'm going to set the state to deactivated. So that way, when I press the dash, the movement stuff gets deactivated. Now, when the dash animation finishes playing, I want to set that same group to be activated again. I'm going to click on Add Action, go back to my system, set group active, start by typing in a quotation mark, character movement, activated. Perfect. That way, if I'm running and I hit my dash, it lets the animation play out before I move again. You might be thinking, well, that doesn't really make sense because I want my character to move in the dash, right? That's true, but we want to control how that animation looks. We want to control how the movement behaves. We don't want to rely on this old character movement stuff. So we're going to leave that deactivated while our dash is happening. Cool. Now, let's do something new. What we're going to do is add what we call an instance variable. If I go to my layout and I click just one time on my character, you'll see on the left side we have all of these different options in this properties menu. If you double click, it brings you to the animations editor. We don't want to do that. Don't double click, just click on it once. And over here on the left side, we want to find where it says instance variables. If you click on instance variables, it opens up a window where we can add a new instance variable. What an instance variable is, it's something that your computer is going to keep track of while the game is playing. It could be like how much life your character has, or how many resources your character has. Or it could be like a true-false statement, like is your character running, or is your character alive? It's something that the computer is keeping track of, something the construct is remembering. So we're going to add a new instance variable. And we have a couple things that we can set here. The first is the name. I'm going to start by naming this dash. This is going to be our instance variable to remember if we're dashing or not. For type, we have three different options: number, string, and Boolean. We're going to go with Boolean on this one. Now, Boolean is a term that just means true or false. So a Boolean statement is a true or false statement. So when we have a Boolean instance variable, it's basically just a variable that says, are you dashing, true or false? Now, the initial value is whether we wanted to have it start as true or start as false. We can have it start as false because when the game starts, we're not dashing, right? We're just going to be standing there. So we can leave that unchecked. Description is just a way of kind of identifying. It's just to help you. If you want to describe what this instance is for, you can type it out. But that's totally optional. So we have dash the name, the type is Boolean, the initial value is unchecked. I'm going to click OK. Great. We can close that window. Now let's go back to our event sheet. We're going to use these same two actions, these same two events. We're going to add new actions for each one. We're going to start with the first event. When our keyboard shift key is down and the animation starts playing, we're going to add another action. We're going to go to our main character. And if you scroll down a little bit, maybe about halfway, you'll see an option for Set Boolean. If I click on Set Boolean, what I can do is I can set our dash to either true or false. So that way I can have it set to true when my character's dash animation is playing. When I push the dash key, the dash variable will be set to true. Click Done. Next, when the animation finishes, I'm going to add an action for this event. I'm going to go into the same thing, main character, scroll down to Set Boolean. Now the dash animation's finished and I've gone back to the standing animation, so I'm going to say dash is false. So we have just 2 events here, but each event is kind of doing a lot of stuff. The first event, the shift key is pressed down, the dash animation plays, it deactivates the old character movement stuff, and it sets the dash variable to true. When the dash animation finishes, it goes back to the standing animation, it reactivates our character movement, and sets dash to false. Perfect. Now right now, we're not going to see much. If we go back and try our game and we press the dash key, nothing's really going to happen. He just kind of pauses and plays the animation for a second. That's fine. Let's go in and add the actual movement itself. Now to do this, we're going to use what's called a behavior. Let's go back to our layout really quick, and let's click just once on our character. Underneath the instance variables that we just looked at, you'll see another option for behaviors. I see that blue word where it says behaviors. If you click on that, what a behavior is, it's kind of a preset set of options that Construct has included. And we've used behaviors a little bit before. If you remember when we were doing the projectile, we used the bullet behavior, right? What we're going to use for this one is the 8 direction behavior. If you scroll down in this window, under movements, the first option is 8 direction. Click on add. What 8 direction movement does is it adds all these options on the left side panel, where you can set how fast your character can go at max speed. The acceleration is how long it takes them to start moving. Deceleration is how long it takes them to stop moving. How many directions you want them to be able to go, whether it's just up and down or just left and right. Set angle. Set angle like rotates your character to face whatever direction they might be heading. And then default controls. Default controls just has it set to the arrow keys on your keyboard. And then the last option is just enabled. At a later date, we might go through these in greater depth. But for right now, there's just a couple things we want to change. Default controls we should turn off. The default controls just sets your whole movement motif to the arrow keys, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So I would uncheck the default controls. The other thing that I'd recommend doing is changing set angle from smooth to no. And let me show you why. If I keep it at smooth and I press play and I try to move my character is going to rotate smoothly to whatever direction they're facing. That could be great if you have a game with, like, maybe you're a car and you want to drive whatever direction or something. But a character like or a game like we're creating, that doesn't really make sense, right? So you want to have that set to no. And then the last thing that I would recommend is we want to turn up the acceleration and deceleration to just some giant number. And the reason for that is because our game, we want to have snappy movement, right? When our character starts running, we want them to run quickly. And when we let go of the run button, we want them to stop quickly. You know, if we dash, we want to dash at full speed and then stop instantly, basically. So what I would recommend doing is going to acceleration and turning it up to just a giant number. I'm just doing like 99,999. That's 5 nines. And do the same thing for deceleration too. Just 5 nines. That's a huge number. So that way, as soon as they start moving, they're moving at full speed. As soon as we let go of the dash, then they stop at full speed. So it's quick, very reactive movement. Good. So those are all the options for our 8 direction. Now let's go back to our event sheet. We're going to add events that actually control the movement of the dash now. I'm going to start by adding an event. What I want to do is go to my main character. And if I scroll down towards the bottom, maybe a little bit past halfway, you'll see an option for is Boolean instance variable set. And the description is test if a Boolean instance variable is true. If I double click on that, it's going to automatically be set to dash, right? Because that's our only instance variable. And what this does is it says, like, okay, is dashing happening? Is dashing true? Do you have dash set to true? And if it is, then we can have the dash happen when our player is moving in a certain direction. We're going to add one more condition to this event. If I double click over here on the left tab, right there. And again, you want to click just right over here on the left tab, not here because that'll just change your other thing. You want to double click over there. We can add one more condition. I'm going to go to the keyboard. And under keyboard, we're going to do key is down. We're going to click to choose whatever key we're using to move our character to the right. I'm using the D key on the keyboard. You might be using the right arrow. And click OK. And click done. So now, if my character's dashing and the D key is down, I can add the movement to make my character move really fast for a short burst. I'm going to go to my main character. And now if you look, there's all these options for a direction up at the top of my, my actions window. You can do a bunch of stuff in here. What we're going to do first is simulate control. If I double click on simulate control, it gives you the option for which direction do we want to have our character moving, left, right, up, or down. We're starting with right? The D key is moving us to the right. So I'm going to go to control, right. Click done. The other thing you can do with this, if I go back to add action, go to my main character, you can also set their max speed. Now, don't click on set speed. You want to click on set max speed. Set max speed is really the speed your character is moving at. So if I double click on set max speed, we can set this number to however fast we want the dash to be. And you can just kind of mess around with this and find a number that works good for you. I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do 1500. I think that's a good place to start, and we can make adjustments if that's too fast or too slow. Click done. So now, if the D key is pressed and my character is dashing, because the dash animation is playing, they're going to move to the right at a pretty large speed. Now let's try it out. It's only going to move for the right now. So if I'm moving to the right and I hit the shift key, you can see he dashes, the animation plays, and he moves quickly for a short burst of speed. That's good. That way he can get out of the way of an attack or move quickly across the screen. But it only works for the right. We have to set it up for the left and for up and for down as well. So let's go back and let's do the same thing for the other keyboard directions. I'm going to add another event. I'm going to go to my main character, and I'm going to go down to is Boolean instance variable set. So when they're dashing, good. I'm going to add another condition in here. Go to my keyboard, click on key is down. This time let's do it for the left. So whatever keyboard key your player uses to control the left movement. Let's add an action. Go to our main character. We're going to simulate control for this one to the left. Add action. Go to our main character. Set max speed. Again, to whatever speed we're using. I'm using 1500. Good. Now that way we can dash to the left and the right. Dash to the left, dash to the right. Cool. Now we might want to be able to dash up and down too. We can add that. Let's go to add another action or add another event. I'm going to do is Boolean instance variable set. Add another condition. Keyboard, key is down. In this case, I'm going to do up with the W. Yours might be the up arrow key. Add an action, main character, simulate control. In this case, the control for up. Add action, main character, set max speed, 1500. Now, a quicker way to do this, if you're doing something like this where you have to do very similar things, add a number of events that are very similar, what you can do is copy and paste. Now, you don't have to do this, but it might save you some time. If you select a whole chunk, like if you click on the left side here, and you go to copy, and then for add event, you right click, and you hit paste, it adds another one in there. You can also use keyboard shortcuts. If I click on the left side here and hit Control C on my keyboard and Control V, it automatically pastes another one in there. And then you can go in there and just make changes to it. So like, for example, the W is down. I'm going to change that to S this time. Simulate direction pressing up. I'm going to simulate direction pressing down. Now, that's not something that's required, but if you like saving time, you can copy and paste stuff that's very similar and then just make changes to it. All right, let's see how it looks. You can dash to the right, dash to the left, you can dash down, dash up. You can go to diagonal. Good. That's great. Now there's one last thing that I want to add here. If I test this out, I can just hold down my dash key. So I'm using the shift key. If I hold down shift, I can just keep dashing forever. And that's kind of fun. You might want to leave that in there, but maybe you don't. Maybe you want to make it so your player can only dash like maybe once every 2 seconds or something. So there's a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a cooldown between when a character dashes and when they can dash a second time. Let me show you how to add that. To add it, we're going to do another instance variable. If I go back to my layout and I click on my character, we're going to add another instance variable over here. I'm going to click on Add New Instance Variable. Let's call this one dash ready. This is going to represent if our dash is ready to do or not. And the type is Boolean. So our dash is either going to be ready or not ready. For this one, I would say our initial value should be checked, right? That's going to mean it's true at the beginning of the game, which makes sense because we want to have our dash ready to be performed, at the beginning. So dash ready, true, checked. Good. Click OK. Close that window. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to make some adjustments to things. We want to have it so that if our dash is ready, then we can perform the dash. And after we perform the dash, then our dash is not going to be ready for a little while. You might have heard the term cooldown. A cooldown is basically a set of time before the ability can be activated again. What I'm going to recommend you guys do is go over here to our first event, the one where we can trigger the dash to happen with the Shift key. I'm going to add another event here. I'm going to double click on the left tab. I'm going to go to my main character. I'm going to find the isBoolean instance variable set. I'm going to change this one to dash ready. I'm going to say, if the dash is ready, then we can do this stuff. That means if the dash is not ready, then you can't dash again. So it's only going to happen when the dash is ready. And then as soon as the dash happens, I'm going to add an action for this event. We're going to go to the main character. I'm going to scroll down to where it says set Boolean. I'm going to set the dash ready Boolean to false. The dash will not be ready. So as soon as the dash happens, I've triggered the dash. Now my dash ready is not ready, right? It's false. And when you have it set up like this, you can only dash once. If I'm running, I can dash once and I can't dash again. I'm hitting the Shift key, nothing's happening because I can only dash once. What we want to do is we want to set a timer so that maybe after a second or maybe 2 seconds or whatever the time might be, then our dash is ready to use again. And to do that, we're going to add another action. If I go to add action and then go to system, down at the bottom of your system options, you'll see one that says wait. Not wait for signal or wait for previous action, but just wait. If you double click on wait, it asks how long you want to wait for. Now, let's just go with 1 second. 1 second is the default here. I think that might be a good amount of time. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to wait 1 second. And after the system waits 1 second, then the next action will happen. So we can say, okay, after 1 second, let's go add an action, take our main character. We're going to set the Boolean for dash ready to true. So after 1 second, dash is ready again. Now that might have been a little quick, but the idea is that we were just checking to see if our dash is ready. And if it's not ready, we won't be able to dash. If it is ready, the dash will happen. We'll set the dash to not ready. We'll wait 1 second, and then we'll set the dash to ready again, and we can perform another dash. Now I can only dash once every second. And if I try to dash before that, nothing happens. That way your player won't be able to just hold down the dash key and dash forever. They'll be able to dash once, then they'll have to wait a second, and then they can dash again. Great. That feels pretty good. I think that's it. The last thing I want to do is make a group for all this stuff. I'm going to right click in the white area at the bottom. I'm going to click on Add Group. We're going to name this one Character Dash and click OK. I'm going to take all the stuff that we just made and go drag it down underneath the Character Dash group. Now remember, to move stuff, we have to click from the left side, from that left tab. I'm going to drag it down and drop it right where it says Add Event to Character Dash. I'm going to do that for all my pieces, dragging it down, all the events to Add Event to Character Dash. Good. Now it's all under that group. Cool. So now we have a group for the character movement, a group for the arrow, a group for the attack, and a group for the dash. Now don't forget to save. Click on the save button up here. Click on Save Changes, And that's it. We'll leave it at that today. Thank you.